Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Abrams, and I'm excited to moderate today's Talks at Google event. We're here today to talk about Amazon Prime's new movie, Space Cadet. So, a little bit about Space Cadet. Tiffany Rex Simpson, who's played by Emma Roberts, has always dreamed of going to space, and her doctorate application lands her in NASA's ultra competitive astronaut training program. In over her head, can this Florida girl rely on her quick wits, moxie, and determination to get through training and into the cosmos before she blows her cover? We are joined today by the writer and director of the film, Liz Garcia, as well as the executive producer and actress, Emma Roberts, who plays Rex. So, welcome, Liz and Emma, and thank you for being here.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to have you both on. I loved the movie. I watched it and had a blast too. But I actually really want to start with the inspiration for the movie. So, Liz, can you maybe actually start? I read that it was kind of partially inspired by having a first gender balanced NASA astronaut class. So, can you elaborate a little bit on what the inspiration for the story was?
Sure. I saw a news item on the internet when NASA announced several years ago, almost 10 years ago, that they had their first class of astronaut candidates where it was 50% male, 50% female. And in ensuing years, that's been the case, but this was the first time. And so there were all sorts of news pieces about it. And I was just intrigued by that as a milestone. So I read this article, really curious, like who these women were who were entering this male dominated field. How had they gotten there? How did they feel about it? What were their credentials? And then the more I read about the women and the men, and the more that I learned, like, what's required to even be considered by NASA, the more I was sucked into this world of very extreme, driven, accomplished people. And those kind of people I think make a great source of comedy because they're so extreme. And then I just started to think, like, we haven't had our space movie. There's been no space movie for girls and women. Like, when do we get to see ourselves in the flight suits and the aviators? It's time.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into. I love the representation that this movie brings to the table, but I want to ask you, Emma, a little bit about your character. So, what were the qualities that you connected with Rex that you're able to bring to life on screen?
Well, I fell in love with the script from the moment I read it, and I've wanted to work with Liz for like a decade now. We keep missing each other, and this project just felt like so the one for us to come together on. And Liz, wrote this character, Rex Simpson, real name Tiffany, and she's just this like vivacious, curious, quirky, confident, millennial that kind of lost her way, and now she wants to see if she can live up to her potential. And I really loved how she is so unapologetically herself, and I loved getting to bring that to life. And also in watching the movie when it was finished, I was like, wow, I feel like we could all use a little more of Rex's qualities in ourselves. She's just a go-getter, and she's fun, and she takes life seriously without taking it too seriously. And I think that that's something that we can all learn from.
Yeah, yeah. There's a an underdog element, but also a problem solving element that's super fun throughout the arc of the movie.
Totally.
Let's talk a little bit about the representation and especially like women in STEM. So there is this, like you said, it's now you having a space movie. It's having women in flight suits. So there's a very diverse cast of characters in kind of the astronaut candidates. So can you discuss like the importance of having that representation in this film?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I started with this idea of I want to write great roles for women, and I want to give women and girls this, well, not being kind of overtly a message film, some sort of funny inspiration in the way that Legally Blonde actually inspired more women to sign up for law school. So I had that agenda, but then the second agenda was like, I want this to reflect the reality of who is going in and becoming an astronaut candidate. And the reality is that the pool is quite diverse. Um, and also that's our world. And there was no quota. For me, it was like, I want the most specific actors, and being these very specific characters and doing it in a way that nobody else would. And when you cast from that perspective, it just winds up being diverse.
Yeah. How do you blend with that cast? The balance between the humor and the serious when you've got that comedy element to it, and especially taking the quirks of the personalities, but then also portraying this like very real message that's inspirational.
Well, I think that Emma has so much heart in the way that she embodies Rex. And, there's a sort of moving backstory for Rex, but Emma brings that with her. She brings that sympathetic quality and a depth. And when you have that in the lead performance, then you're just sort of unconsciously setting up high stakes for the movie, even when it's silly and jokey. There is something real that's keeping the audience like actually really caring. And I think that's how it works in this
Thank
movie.
you.
Yeah. Well, Emma, from your perspective, like how is that? Because you have to go back and forth almost between the quirky moments and that personality that you're bringing to the character, but then also the uplifting best friend to help, with peers and kind of all those different moments going back and
Yeah.
forth.
I mean, for me, it just like felt natural because I felt like Liz, like honestly, wrote such an amazing script, and all the characters felt really lived in. And to go back to like the casting, I mean, I just love that Liz did not, because there's like the obvious choice for each role when you read the script, or like the obvious choice, and I just felt like Liz really like dug in on like who is the best for this role. And even like Tom Hopper, for example, who plays Logan, he's British and he's like so funny and so charming, but Logan the role was written as American. And I remember like Liz and I were like, he should be British. We're like, he's gonna be
Yeah.
British, right?
Why would
And
we say no to that accent? Yeah.
totally. But so I think it's like the way that Liz writes and directs is like really tailoring everything to like the ensemble that she put together. And so for me, like I felt super supported by that, and everything kind of came naturally. Like we all really like, loved each other, and I think really loved our characters, and really all brought something unique and different. And so everything else kind of like flew from there. And that doesn't always happen. So like the long story long, it wasn't something I had to think about, which was really nice. Like I wasn't like, oh, is this too jokey, oh, is this too serious? Like it just, everything kind of ebbed and flowed, and the dynamics between everyone kind of just spoke for themselves. And it was so fun to see the movie put together, because there are moments where you're like teary eyed, but then there are moments where you're laughing out loud. And those are kind of my favorite movies, the kind of nostalgic comedy with heart.
Yeah, it's a comedy with a message and a story, which is great because you get all of those emotions throughout the film. And I did love, I love the British element. I love dual citizen Tom, so that was, like a fun way to also integrate that in.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk a little bit about a couple elements of the movie that I think are really interesting to hear more about. So one is the actual portrayal of astronaut training, and like what went into keeping that authentic and real, but also again in some quirky moments of that. So how much, I know there's a lot of research that goes into that, but how much did you like dive in to try to keep that NASA true training program look real?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very authentic. What's in the movie is very authentic. What they do at NASA is even more extreme. So what's in the movie is like what we could pull
They
off.
didn't let us go in the anti-gravity room. I really wanted to go in there. They were like, it's a liability.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like there are things that are probably too dangerous, not to mention just, we were shooting in New Jersey and we did a week in Alabama, but the dome sequence, that's kind of like the real world meets space where they're all trapped in that dome. That's based on something that NASA really does. But when they do it, the dome is on the side of a volcano, or it's a teeny tiny submersible, like deep in
No,
the, I know,
no,
can't even.
no.
Don't like
thank
to
you.
think about
Yeah.
it. No, 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 no.
Liz and I are both claustrophobic and bad flyers.
Yeah, right. Like we would not make it to space.
No, I
We
mean,
would
I
not
would love to go. I just think I'd be cut.
make
They would be like, "You're too emotional and weak."
Yeah. Well, you got to fly a plane. You landed a plane, and
I did land a
you get to
plane.
kind of do that element at least. The another part I want to talk a little bit about is wardrobe. I thought the Florida wardrobe kind of elements really, really accentuated the story. And so, I know there's got to be a ton of thought put into that, but can you share a little bit about how you picked the moments to bring in that to add to the characters?
Well, I'll just kick us off and then hand it to you, Emma, because you were very involved in this. So we were working with Everin Catlin, who I'd worked with on my last film. She was our costume designer. She is singular, and she gets everything from like thrift stores and vintage places. And so for her, the idea of creating a wardrobe for a character who would be making her own clothes and altering her own clothes was just perfect. She totally understood what that would be. And, because the whole concept behind Rex is this is a person who's essentially an engineer. She's employed as a bartender, but she uses her engineer skills in her life, including in her wardrobe. And I mean, beyond. And then she and Emma worked closely. Like Emma has incredible style. Not that you dress like insane like Rex.
I want to. She's my summer inspo. I'm like, I need to go thrifting to look like Rex. Yeah, no, I mean, Everin was amazing. Liz was amazing. I remember walking into the fitting and being like, this is beyond my wildest dreams. Because there's something like Liz said, so singular and fresh, but then also something so like nostalgic, like early 2000s about it as well. So I loved it. And the second that I put on like the trucker hat and like the vintage bedazzled cutoffs, I was like, how can I not be in character? Like it was just so much fun. So I feel like we're gonna see some of this style take over this summer.
Yeah, bringing that back. It
Yeah.
is a good segue too, because I think the nostalgia and like the not like second moment, like the second career of being able to kind of have that underdog and relive. Like I did love early on. It starts at like a high school reunion, and I think a lot of people have had that experience of like that reflection moment of we're there, and you've got a super celebrity classmate that you were friends with, and that story. So can you talk about like some of the message behind being able to have that second chance in this film?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think part of it came from reading about what it took to become an ass can in real life and realizing that so many of the people who'd made it that far had known since they were kids that this was their dream. I mean, not all of them, but the majority like became really focused as a child and knew how to take the right steps. And there's something about that that kind of breaks my heart because in order to dream that as a child, you have to see it. You have to see people like you doing it. You have to have support. You have to have people around you who are like, you're not crazy. You could do this really elite thing. And it just made me think about how many people are capable of living different lives and who just don't get that early luck or privilege. And I just wanted to tell that story. Like, what if your resume didn't look like it was supposed to? Right? I just think it's universal. Like, most people have legitimate fears about pursuing their dreams, and they need something like a, a difficult high school reunion encounter or a totally unhinged best friend to push them toward it, because there are a million reasons to hold yourself back. But I really believe in shooting for the moon.
Yeah. No, I mean, I related to that so much because I feel like as like a millennial, which the fact that now being a millennial means you're in your 30s and have a kid is my brain breaks when I think about that. But I relate so deeply to, like me and my friends are all in our 30s now, and I feel like so many of us are like, wait, are we doing what we want to be doing? Are we with the person we want to be with? Like where are we living? Like the last 5 years have just been such like unprecedented times. I mean, even more than 5 years, but especially the last 5 years. And I just feel like I don't know. I feel like we've just been hindered so much with like outside things. And so I love the idea that this movie is kind of saying like, yeah, go for it. Like it's not embarrassing to like want to go after your dreams. And I feel like now, the world we live in where everything's a meme and everything's a joke and there's just so much like hate out there. I love that our movie is kind of saying like, you know what? Who cares? Like all you need is one best friend or one supporter or one, moment of doubt to like set you on your track. And so I love that.
Yeah, there is a throughout the movie a support system that comes through. Whether it's like it starts obviously with the family dynamic, but then it comes with a best friend that puts the situation into the nth degree. But then throughout also with the other candidates, the supporting of each other and working together. So can you talk a little bit about like how you built those stories, maybe within some of your own support systems in real life that helped craft some of that narrative?
Well, so again, in researching what really happened, I thought it was so funny that you would be a very, very driven, accomplished person, very disciplined, and that you would get to Johnson Space Center and there would be like a group of you, and then NASA was like, now work as a team. Like just that that would be so difficult for these people, I would imagine. And I loved the idea that Rex's ability to see the best in people and be kind, which could be viewed as like soft or unserious, that those qualities actually were what NASA was missing. That was what they were looking for. Somebody who was willing to put ego aside, pick other people up when they need it, and support them and create a team. And, we were just lucky to work with this. Like the ASCAN ensemble was just really delightful and really wanted to forge that friendship as well. And so there was like just a nice chemistry that emerged, sometimes scripted, sometimes not. Some of the moments are just spontaneous or ad-libbed or what have you. And I think it winds up being this nice story about unexpected friendship.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, I mean, I can speak to just all of us as an ensemble, like being on set. I mean, we all flew down to Huntsville, Alabama, and it was on Halloween. And we like landed, and we had the day off because it was like a travel day, and we all went out and did like karaoke in this like random bar in Alabama, and it was just so funny. It was just like life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art of like all of us just at this
Mhm.
karaoke bar that I think was in like a Christmas themed double wide trailer, if I'm not mistaken.
It's very local. It was
It was
very
and it
local.
was so fun. But like, like Kuhu was singing like a Christmas song, like and it was like Halloween and it was like it was just so perfect. And that I just looked around being like, this is so like this group. Like this is us, like singing, karaoke on Halloween, a Christmas song in Alabama all together. Like love.
That's amazing. And yeah, you have your karaoke moment in the movie too. So was that also a little warm up for the scene?
Yep, yes, we do. Tom and I have that karaoke moment, which Tom just like I could not have done that without him. He was just so amazing in that, and any kind of uh, like worry that I had, I would just look over at him, and he was like giving it his all, and I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah. So one of the other themes that we haven't talked a little bit as much about is this like self-belief and this like perseverance, and especially I don't want to spoil the movie, but as you get to the end of the story, there is this like never giving up moment. So can you talk a little bit about how you like weave that through, because you kind of teased it throughout and then it kind of culminates really well at the end?
Sure. Well, you know, this movie has an interesting arc that's slightly different from a lot of movies in this genre, which is that, Rex doesn't change that much. She believes in herself. She feels free to like love and support people. She does what she's good at with a lot of zeal the whole time. And really, the arc is that the world around her has to come to realize how great she is.
Liz,
So
what a good point. I didn't even realize this until now.
Well, I should say that I didn't totally realize it either until I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, this Screenwriting Life, and Meg LaFauve, who wrote Inside Out and Inside Out 2,
Hmm.
pointed out that oftentimes movies with a female protagonist, that's the arc. Because of course, that is our arc. Hello, we're over here. We could do this job.
That's really
And
cool. I never thought of it
we're
that way. I love
lucky.
that.
Yeah.
I love
So,
learning something new about a movie I was in.
I mean, there
Sorry,
is,
carry on.
Rex does have to step fully into her talent and be willing to say, like, again, for the people in the back, I can do this, which she does. But yeah, that was always the idea for me. It wasn't about someone learning to become someone different. It was really about showing an institution that's kind of a metaphor for all elite institutions, showing them realizing it's not about the credentials. It's not about the way that a person presents themselves. It's really about the skill and the talent, which sometimes doesn't come with the right vocabulary, the right college, the right job history. Yeah, so that was the idea from the beginning, that she believes in herself and everybody else has got to catch up.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's watching this movie who maybe thinks that they don't have that right credentials and right, background to do maybe their dream?
I mean, I hope what they get from the movie is the idea of just try.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
try.
Or
Because
pivot. Like
pivot.
find another route. Because I feel sorry, not to interrupt you, Liz.
No, go ahead. Like,
No,
pivot. Just settle.
I just feel like, because I was just thinking about what you said, where it's like I hope that we're like moving towards a future where maybe like there are more openings for people that maybe don't have the master's degree, but they are passionate. I mean, like even sometimes I'll be on Instagram or TikTok and I see people on there where I'm like, they are so talented. I'm like they are so smart. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I just feel like there's just so many amazingly talented and smart human beings in the world that, like, yeah, maybe they didn't go to an Ivy League college or college at all. I mean, I didn't go to college, or I didn't graduate college, I should say. And I just feel like, I don't know, I hope that like you said, like institutions like this maybe in the future will like take more chances on people for like who they are instead of like a credential, because I know plenty of very very qualified people that still couldn't maybe do as good of a job as Rex.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, I want to ask a couple fun questions too, as we're wrapping up here. So
Have these all
one,
been fun for you?
oh, these are all been
I'm
amazing, but
joking.
some hopefully different than what you've been asked by
Yeah,
every
okay.
other person
I
too.
love that.
So my first one is going to be if there's some really fun inventions in the beginning of the movie. So what was your favorite invention that Rex built, and what was one that you wish maybe the studio would have let you create?
Yeah, Liz, tell us. I want to hear.
Well, we have the manatee gate, which obviously not obviously, but I do feel strongly about. And then I'm trying to think what were we not allowed to build? I
Or
mean,
what did you think about? Did you have something you were going to put in the script that wasn't in the script? Like, was there?
yeah,
Not to take over your job, Mike.
Yeah.
no,
But now I want to know.
it's not an invention, and I think you might have read this version in the script, but in real ASCAN training, they take them to the Canadian Rockies and just drop them off. And they're like, hey guys, here's a compass. You have some warm weather gear. Like, go from A to Z using this compass, surviving the cold, work as a team, have a good time. We're not going to help you, but we're watching you. And
I want to do that.
I thought that was so funny. I read one astronaut memoir where he had to go through that, and he described how if you took your glove off, your skin would just automatically freeze.
No.
It's so insane. So, and then they also will make them jump out of a helicopter fully clothed with heavy, like military style boots in the middle of the night into
No.
the ocean.
Nope.
So obviously these were things I very much wanted to do that we
That was,
didn't
I mean,
do.
I've jumped into a pool fully clothed with rollerblades on as a kid, and I was like, "Oh, this is how it ends." I was like, literally, my mom had to come grab me out. So I can't imagine heavy boots in the ocean. No thanks.
yeah.
Rollerblades.
Yeah,
No.
I rollerbladed into the pool, not realizing I would sink, and yeah,
Right.
that's very dangerous. I'm sad but glad kids don't seem to like rollerblading anymore. You know, like that was like
Yeah.
it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That
Stay
sounds like
away from the
something
pool.
these TV show. Yeah.
What was the, my other question was going to be, what was the moment of astronaut training that you think you personally would have been best at?
Emma.
Um, I'm like, do you have an answer for me? Um, I mean, I think I would have done well in the pod. Like maybe not on a hillside, but like in a pod with people, I could get down with that. I was a sleepaway camp girl. I lived in a bunk with 12 other people, one bathroom. You know, it was not fancy at all in Minnesota. So I think I could make that work.
Yeah, I could see that for you. I could see the like, guys, we can do this. I could see.
Totally. Yeah, as long as I could bring a book with me, I'd be fine.
Yeah. Liz, what about you?
Oh God. I mean, like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to get in a jet. I don't want to wear a helmet.
I
I'm
think you could do the tent thing. You could sweat in the tent. You could stay in the tent the longest, I think, because you have the grit to stay in the tent the
Yeah,
longest, I would
okay.
say.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't
You
mind
would.
that. A
You would
little
definitely do it.
hallucinating, I would like that. Yeah.
I love it. What's the, as we wrap us up here, what's like the biggest takeaway you want people to have when they watch this film?
I mean, go ahead, Liz.
I want people to believe in themselves.
Oh, I mean, I want people to like have wiped a tear from their eye and have a smile on their face. And I hope that they watch this movie with like their best friend or their mom or their sister or literally, I mean, anyone. Like I feel like there aren't enough movies out there that you can watch with a group of people. And I just love that. I hope this experience makes people inspired and happy. Like, God forbid we watch something that makes us happy these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
I've been down a true crime hole that has infiltrated my dreams, and it is not good.
Right. We don't need more terror. No.
Yeah. Smile on your
I have
face.
enough fears and nightmares. Like, I'm good.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming here and sharing with us, and
Yeah, thank you guys
excited
so much for having us.
excited for the movie. Space Cadet premieres globally on Prime Video on July 4th, so everyone can
Yay.
watch it on Prime. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.